within the vicinity of SETAs and other avenues that are available in government.
All right, thank you. I greet you all in the wonderful name of our Lord Jesus the Messiah. My name is Pimelo Baholo. I work for government actually, for an agent of government called Technology Innovation Agency. We fund innovators specifically, and by that I mean companies that they are businesses but they are driven by innovation. The funding landscape in South Africa is quite congested. There's so much money out there, by the way, but very little ideas. Even from our side where we work, we're desperate to fund. But we fund everybody, not just young people. Even people in their 80s are welcome at our organization. I work with your fellow member here, but my focus is on the ICT industry, where I'm sure you have seen all these apps and all of these things. That's what we predominantly fund. How do I contextualize this thing to make it easy? I would say, if I look at the whole, say, funding market in South Africa, it's divided into maybe 3 phases. It's concept phase, some they call it seed funding. Then there is a startup or scale-up phase. Then there are SMMEs, then big companies. I'm not going to talk about big companies, even SMMEs. SMMEs, they are funded by, I'm sure you know, SIFA, Small Enterprise Finance Agency. There's also ITC, there's National Empowerment Fund. They fund companies that are, because an SME, it's a company that is stable and is growing. Where there's demand and where I think there's a lot of intervention required is on startups, people who are starting. How do they get started? In that phase, we have a lot of role players in South Africa. If you have a concept that you think can make money for you in future, my advice always, if you have cash, don't use your money, because there's money out there. There are incubators in South Africa. Actually, South Africa, probably in Africa, has the highest number of incubators, more than 300. These are companies, some they are NPOs, some they are government owned, some they are owned by private companies, but they exist to support people with ideas and to mature those ideas to a point where they can start building products and services. If I can use an example of the previous speaker here, Mr. Jabu, with his hair products, he started with an idea. That idea has to be nurtured, has to be tested. You need resources to do that. And entities like where I work, we provide such resources. But I think the best place where such ideas are well nurtured is within the incubators. If I can give an example of such facilities, here in Gauteng, actually here, we are in Rivonia. Just here, there's Street Sloan. Yeah, there's a big one it's a multinational incubator, but it's focusing on tech businesses predominantly. Then we have others around certain plug and plays. Then but mostly it's private sector driven here, including Standard Bank in Rivonia. Public funded one, the big one is Innovation Hub. It's based in Pretoria. They support everybody. By the way, we support them as well. Most incubators per province, we have those that we basically give some portion to support certain programs like Innovation Hub runs, they call them GAP ICT competitions every year. We actually support those things. And then there are those that are based at universities. All universities have something that supports entrepreneurs. You go to VETS, there's Simulo Fontaine, Braamfontein. You go to University of Pretoria, there's Technovation. the former technicals, all of them, actually all universities in South Africa are supported by us to fund ideas that can mature into products and services. Our role is to help somebody with an idea to develop that thing until it can be tested with the market. And then after that, there are other funders like IDC. They are based in Sentin here. Within IDC, there are two divisions. There's IDC that is more developmental, and there's IDC that looks at big monies. The developmental side of it, they have money, I think, that is accessible to SMMEs, and they are emphasizing innovation-based as well. They have what they call grassroots funding, and also people who want to grow, sort of scale their businesses. Even from TIA side, where I work, we have what we call grassroots as well. These are open programs where we sort of try to be inclusive. People who would find innovation space complex for them, there are ways of assisting them with very little funding, 100,000, 200,000. Our funding basically is unlimited. It can go to even millions depending on the concept and the complexity of the concept. We prefer science-based ideas because we fund all sectors from bio to technologies, mining, everything, agriculture. But we are also cognizant of the modern trends. Everybody wants to make money with technology-based ideas, and we are open for that. We have ways of supporting people. I can talk the whole day, but I would rather stop here and maybe invite questions. MC?
I'm going to take questions. I have a lot of my own commentaries. I'd rather not say anything because I will come out as a very biased human being. Yes, ma'am.
Good day. My name is Nell. I wanted to know, what does it take for one to qualify? Do I have to have a business already running? Or maybe if I'm running a business, I'm short of equipment, do you guys help with supplying them? Or do you help with studying capital?
So before you answer, I'm just going to allow you to answer this question, but we're going to take the next speaker. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to have a panel where all the questions can be treated because they fall under the same ecosystem of startups and entrepreneurship and so on, so that we have a singular question and answer session and make it a more efficient type of thing. Yeah, please answer this one.
Okay. We have a broad system of support. If you need equipment, and I'm talking generally South Africa, if you want specific equipment, DTI, Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, I think, they can assist you to actually buy machinery. Where I work, if you want to design something new, you can be supported. Mr. Sijabu here was talking about the hair, whatever thing. If you want to do an electronic version of hair detangler, you can be supported to dream and to come up with these new things that never existed. So we do provide funding money, and also some people do sustain themselves throughout the funding period, because it's not just about, it's about you as a company being sustained. So we literally offer you every support, even office space if you need one, industrial space if you need such, even what we call development support. In some cases, you need knowledge, or you need to do research, market research, and whatever, and get supported to do those things. So I'll say it's full bouquet of support services. Thanks.
Thank you so much. As I mentioned, we're just gonna move on to our next speaker, who's going to be coming on and giving us more information, and then after we'll have the Q&A. So we are not closing the Q&A, we're just making the process more efficient. So we are going to ask our next speaker, who's Mamnong Dumiso Pasha, to come and just give us her presentation in her journey in entrepreneurship.
Good afternoon. Ngiyanibingelela egameni lenkosi yethu Jesu. Umamnondumiso lo phahla umZulu ushade nabapedi. Okwami namhlanje this afternoon, because I'm appreciating the first session. The first session became the building stones for my speech. Can you allow me to give a diagnosis of what I've seen this morning here? Yes. So that when we move together with confidence. I feel like I'm in a place where God has done His work in all of you. I'm feeling like this is a group of elite people who are God chosen. You are only left with getting out of here and walk with me and let us go out and serve. So my work is very easy. It's the work of servanthood. I'm gonna relate a little bit because I'm just telling about what the Lord has done in my own life. I'm born and bred in a small village of Kampumuza in Pietermaritzburg, a very small village around Edendale area in Pietermaritzburg. Those who've been there, raised by a pastor, Obabugasa, who was not even educated, who did his pastor career through correspondence, ebhalelwa umalume wami, but ezizwela yena izwi likaNkulunkulu. So the wonderful story is that he died in 1994, and in 2002, the same word shocked me. And I was a nurse by profession. I trained at Edendale because he took me by hand and just transferred me to Edendale. You know, when you are born by a pastor, you are privileged. You don't have to sit for interviews. So, because he was a community builder himself. So he held me by hand, dropped me at Edendale, and I found myself exactly like when my daughter was saying, we were finding ourselves being nurses and teachers and social workers. There was no choice. So in my journey of 17 years, in the corridors of the same Edendale Hospital, I met this petty guy who was very opposite to Zulu men. Zulu men are tall and handsome. And I'm getting a very short man from Mupeti. And I was hesitant all the time because when we are young, at our adolescent stage, we are imagining the kind of men that we must marry to, who looks nice, handsome, and tall. And there is God shocking me. He's giving me this guy, and I'm dodging him left and right. But he says, this is where I'm placing you. The rest is the history, and then I moved with him to come and serve as a nurse. I'm a person who's blessed with 10 years. Every 10 years, my life changed. In 2003, after I've heard the voice God saying, I was just cleaning my yard and I dropped the broom because the buzzword said ministry. And I knew what it means, and I had to hide it to everybody. And it started working in me every minute and every hour and every day. And I started seeing things differently, seeing a patient as somebody who needs empowerment, not somebody who needs a curative care. So I started designing models alone, and then I had my peers, nurses. I was here at Skinner Clinic in Pretoria. I had my peers saying, "Are you becoming a pastor?" And indeed, I was becoming a pastor. I didn't know. So to cut the story short, I found myself opening an organization, a non-profit organization, which is called Siapila Youth Support Services. And that's what God was saying in my ears. He's throwing me in an environment which I've never walked, where I don't even know who's gonna help me and guide me. But I have surrendered because He said, I'm expanding your territory. So I followed Him, and then I found a mentor. Somebody referred me to a mentor who I've never met, who gave me 3 things. This is the beginning of the education I'm sharing this morning, because God lives. God is real. And God is not this, sometimes we fantasize, we want to think we know Him. And He is something else. And He put me in the hands of, coming from a charismatic church, but He's putting me in the hands of a Lutheran woman who I've never met. She is having 3 puzzles for me. She's gonna give me a book, Purpose-Driven Life. You all know it, by Warren. Because I'm hungry now, I'm finding myself in a cold space. I'm leaving the profession and I don't know how I'm gonna survive. I needed to read. I read that book for 40 days. Sort of like fasting in my spirit, because I want a solution. Where am I going? How am I gonna survive? I'm leaving the profession. No one has promised me any money. So second thing, she referred me to there was a course. It was called FPD. It was run by USAID with Lux University, and I have to just go and get the business plan, understand the governance, because I've been a nurse operating on the bedside. The third item she gave to me, she wrote a small paper and she sent me to the same church where I'm attending at Hartfield Christian Church. I didn't know that behind scenes there was something called community ministry. I've never heard of that. So she referred me to the ministries, and up to today I'm a community ministry leader. So I followed that path with those 3 puzzles which are honored today, and I want to teach others with the same puzzles that she gave to me. To cut the story short, my first 10 years was to serve Melodies, Davidton, Stengvader, Mkhogelo. It's places I've never heard, and my husband was always panicking and saying, these places we are going are high risk. And guess what? The first 10 years was such a big blessing, because not a single day where I've lost a cell phone, not a single day where somebody broke into my car, because every morning at 3 a.m. God is speaking to me of what's gonna happen. And I've learned to listen directly to Him without any interpretation, hearing His voice directly through the scriptures. Once at 3 a.m. I wake up to today, 3 a.m. is my appointment with God, one-on-one. So I took those puzzles very seriously, and guess what? Sometimes I do get a little bit of funds, sometimes there's nothing, sometimes the car crashes and I'm asking myself, how am I gonna go on again? And then God always have a way. He always give me a next step. So I followed that 10 years that it taught me integrated community development, to do community mobilization, do SWOT analysis, diagnose groups like I've just diagnosed you, help people to find their own path like he has done with me. So then that helped me to understand what a squatter camp is. I've served in many squatter camps, guys. It's not funny. Up to Marabastad, sex worker, everything. I've been in corners where I just don't understand how did I survive, what is it? Second community that God taught me through is townships. The last one is peri-urban. When I moved from squatter camp is a place where people are hiding themselves, where they don't need a resilience. They want things which are quick, want to eat now and survive. The second one, township, again, it's slightly better than the first one. Now you don't have resources. You are coming to preach the word of God that says resilience. How do those things come to work? It's impossible. I kept on failing. Peri-urban, it's holding a little bit, so much that even if you go to Stengvater now, there is a project that is running there, but they refuse to be independent of anybody, because God wants a sustainable development through the ministry where he has put me. There, 10 years, I'm feeling cold now. I don't know who's gonna support me. Then I prayed and said, God, what do you want me to do now? He sent me back to my in-laws, the ones that I thought I have. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law died, and I thought I've closed the book. Then he's taking me there. I'm Zulu, I don't know Betty very well, and he's taking me directly to the community of my in-laws, and they have to fill up the hall here because they know who I am. I don't know who I am, because I've been running away from understanding why God called me to Babeti Ngilimu. So that is where the purpose is taking me. So I'm held by a woman, a tall woman who found me last days in the office in Pretoria, and she says she's looking for a place to cook. And when I'm listening to her, she's talking this petty of these people, of my in-laws. And that is the woman who was sent to hold me by hand and take me back to the village. So then she became a pillar. But what is amazing now, she keeps on saying we are going to the promised land. How? Promised land? But this is your village. Why are you she keeps on repeating promised land 100 times. As she does that, I'm just fascinated why she is talking about promised land. So I'm gonna do what I can do, stand in front of them, teach them, facilitate, get them confidence and understand who they are, SWOT analysis, skills and knowledge that they already have. And these are the people who we have said, who can't fit into the career path. I'm called for such people who are thrown in the pit, where everybody says it's finished with them. They couldn't fit in the square of academic journey. Okay, let me just talk so that the time moves faster. Upon that, when I'm doing SWOT analysis, skills audit in them, they can do everything. They are sustaining themselves, they are rural. They are not trusting on any government who's gonna help them. So that's why I'm dressed in them. They can do clothes, they can farm, they can do, but they are already throwing a towel because they feel like there's something better in the cities. And I'm trying to prevent them. Remember, I've done 3 communities already, 3 types of communities. I'm saying don't go to Gauteng, please. And I'm trying to stop them from going where? To Gauteng. Because I now know that once they move to Gauteng, it's all poverty and poverty. Because why? It's outside the ecosystem of God. So then I'm pushing them to stay there. So as I'm pushing them, I have to mobilize them to start doing things on their own. I don't have a cent in my pocket. All I have is me and the calling and the power of God that I believe in. To cut the story short, these are the people who have all this indigenous knowledge. And Tina, as we are charismatic, sometimes we are not really at par with these things. We're saying, but there is God speaking and saying, this is where you're going to find the promise. In these people who did not know me, but you must make me known to them. Mm-hmm. And as they are unpacking what they have in their hands, they have all this indigenous knowledge that God has locked in them so that the Western does not get it. And that is the reason why they can't talk English, because God sometimes locks the knowledge for the next generations. Yes. Now, that's how now I'm honoring somebody who's not educated like me, who can't talk English. There is something locked in that person that God is keeping close. Come closer to that person. Imagine if we're gonna go to a lane, but at the guy, and we go back to the lane. How our country can be transformed by us in this room, alone. Alone, we who are here, where God has already manifested in us. I was listening to you presenting and saying, this is exactly the knowledge that we need as leaders to go out there and translate it in Bedi, in Xhosa, in Zulu, and change our nation. No politician is gonna do it. No pastor is gonna just do it as a magic. There is no professional who's gonna do it. It's us who are called as children of God who are gonna transform the country. So I'm here to say today, here is the wealth. Ephethwa abantu bakithi bakhona omama kaZulu abangakwazi ukuyi-interpreta lento. But I just want to thank the Science Consortium who admitted me without knowing who I am, because I had to play an underground and keep quiet. It's funny ngalabo mama abangafundi every but your consortium took me without asking me who I was, and I played the underground. I pretended I was stupid. I advocated for these women, and today this product is international. So I'm Sichaba's mom, who is now who is leading in the governance of Sejong Tea Crafters. I'm Retang's mom, who has been chosen by the same community to be the CEO. Uvuyisile umthola ngiphakathi kwalabo mama ngizibophela amaduku nami ngihamba kanye nabo, because we need to lower ourselves as the children of God. We need to humble ourselves and learn new things, because God's treasures are wider and deeper and higher. But we chose to close ourselves in boxes. I was honored when you say we run to be called with prefaces. But today we must tell the truth, because with all those titles, our country is becoming more poor. So we need to be vigilant as servants of God, and go and learn new things, start from scratch, and trust that He is gonna provide. So today, these women, when I'm seated with them in the boardroom, they have the knowledge of a boardroom, yes, paid. umama womXhosa unayo uhlala phansi kwesihlahla une-boardroom yakhe uyayazi ukuhambisa uhlelo le-community yakhe. Umama KwaZulu Natal has suffered, but she has a solution that is sustaining the nation, sustaining her family and her community. So we are here, and amazingly God has taken us to that promised land that this woman who's holding me by hand keeps on saying, promised land. He takes me by surprise, Baba Mfundisi, sengisho ukuthi sengifikile la ngiyakhona. Uyazi mawusungene kwi estate, lesa kuthiwa golf estate. Usuke usufikile lapha ngisho baba ngempilo. Yes. He asked me one question when he pushed me out of my comfort zone. He asked me one question. He said, if I want to expand your treasures, you don't have a chicken, you don't have a goat, you have only the green grass around you, and you call it a golf estate. How am I gonna expand on that if I want to bless you? That's where I remove lama hili nje ngiyapretenda akasavumi ngathatha iteki ngabopha ngangena empini ngamkiloko ngimhlonipha nje ubaba ngimncenga ngithi hayi ngimsethela itray ukuze avume phela ukuthi ngiye emakhaya ngidle futhi naleli phakethe lakhe angiphe lona ukuze ngiyoseva ngalo, because no one wants to give me the money. Who's gonna invest in a vision that they don't understand? So now that's what I did for the first 10 years until God talked to Science Consortium. They have developed these teas. They started by I talked to Sida. Sida took me to what do you call it? This place where you first analyze. Where you first analyze the tea. What do you call it? SABS. SABS just did a basic analysis and said this is safe to serve people and whatever. And then a friend of mine took it to tax and just did a random analysis. They say the black bush tea is rich in vitamin A, C, E, and zinc. I said, there, I found it. Eventually, I'm a nurse by profession. I found it. Vitamin A, C, E, and zinc in a tea. Then the second community gave me this one, which is redwood tea. They said we also are digging this. Now this is rich in beta carotene, high fiber, zinc, and it has got calcium. It detoxes and nourishes your internal organs. And then this black bush tea beautifies you. This is why these old people are still walking in the street at 90 years. They don't even put glasses. They are still carrying babies. They are still digging and doing all these things on their own. So as a nurse, I understood exactly that this is holistic wellness. This is nutrition. This is organic, 100%, no caffeine, as I'm taught by the scientists. Now I'm walking the path with scientists from 2016, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, ngilokhu cross my fingers. Who's gonna fund us? Who's gonna fund us? Guys, with God's promise, we are fully funded. DSI and its consortium, TIA and everybody are building a factory now. These women are more confident than ever in their body language. Go and visit them and see. I have a youngster here who has just been appointed to look after our office here in Midrand with her husband. So they are busy designing a new office for us. So now I'm sitting back, I'm looking at them. I've drawn an M and Eve, we see. Yes, because I want to monitor everything, and I'm no more involved in the in the core business, but I want to monitor for God's sake, because we're killed by corruption in our country. So as I'm fighting corruption, I'm gonna be questioning everything, every cent, where does it go? I want to see the impact in our community. So this, it has immediately, these teams have immediately created about 40 jobs, but there are many jobs that are getting developed now, because we're looking for distributors, we're looking for reps, we're looking for marketers and all those things. So we are preparing now to train all those masses here in Gauteng to partner with the rural people. So now these rural people are telling the story themselves. I don't talk on their behalf. As I'm standing here, I thought I had invited Chaba, but Chaba, as I'm speaking, is preparing to go to New York for these humble teas. This knowledge that we have as South Africans. When they say we are rich in biodiversity, it is true, we are rich, but we are looking in the boxes for wealth. We are looking to be hired by somebody. And my spirit says today, this elite that is here are employers of tomorrow. We can come together. I'm prepared to share the knowledge. I'm prepared to work with those who are called by God to serve their communities. I'm very hungry to go to Eastern Cape. My heart says there's a lot of wealth in Eastern Cape, but neither in character, behavior change. If behavior change, it's when we're gonna transform in our minds, our souls. It's when we're gonna start eating and put value on organic stuff. I look at the young girl who was singing here. She said she can't drink it. I said, we need more of such young stars who are gonna now select what goes into their mouths and nourish their bodies so that we prolong life. Yes, with medicine, we are going to be fighting all the time. Medicines have their complications. Where is primary health care in South Africa? It has gone down the drain. We are curative. We are treating everything. Where is our faith in trusting God for the trees that He has planted around us? So today I'm saying, let's move together. I'm surrendering to say, I don't usually come for motivational speaking. I love staying in a place and make sure that such an elite of people can go back to their rural communities and transform their communities. As we are standing here, we're getting ready to supply all the food lovers markets. As I'm standing here, I'm busy with the church now to say, let's get more women who are gonna craft tea bags with their own hands, because we need to stretch this wealth to feed everybody. Women to stand up and craft these tea bags, and then we put them in nice packages and take it to the whole world, because this is our wealth. So it starts with you. You're gonna say whether you are South African or you are Mopedi, or you are coming from Eastern Cape or KwaZulu Natal. It starts with you to say, this is our tea. Let's own the biodiversity that we have and start not be too loyal in supporting products that are already established and bring up the knowledge. Now, I'm certifying to say, with God on our side and perseverance and resilience, we are going to break the walls of poverty. We're going to destroy the walls of poverty, because we're going to start seeing differently. We must remove the screen. Yes, the knowledge, the Western knowledge is helping us, because we are going to be operating in the Western world. But let's go and dig these mines of indigenous knowledge, which are about to disappear with the older generation. Indigenous knowledge is God's knowledge that is not even contaminated, and then we take it to verify with science. May God bless all of you this afternoon.
Wow, 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 more wow. Wow, 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 and more wow. Wow, and more wow, and more wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Primero. I am going to call you back for helping me with Q&A, but I just want to say that this is important because it touches on two areas that are very critical. I'm also very passionate about, number one, indigenous knowledge systems and mainstreaming indigenous knowledge systems, because unfortunately with colonization and Western culture, in nullifying our indigenous knowledge systems, they then go back and take, and then they say they've refined and repackaged and sell back to us. There was a case of a pharmaceutical in the UK that took Hoodia, so the scent.
I can't live like that. I'm not changed at the same time. I don't play by the same folks. I don't go by the same folks. We are the new breed generation. The next leaders to change our nations. So we are putting on our boots and we are standing up for truth. Leaders who are going to change our nations. We are the new breed generation. The next leader to change our nation. So we're putting on our boots and we are standing up for truth and leaders who are going to change our nation. Are you a soldier? Are you a soldier? Yes. So gather your troops. You know what we do. Now fighting with our fists up, because change is doable and not just assumable if you're not in the field getting your knees dirty and bruised. So tell me, are you a leader who is inspired by revolutionaries? With a reformer's mind state is change on the top of your list? Is culture cultivating something bigger than a sensation with an urgency to change our nation? So gather with peeps who lead for a greater purpose and purposefully changing society, because that is worth it, and never scratch